The team that died and came back. Imagine waking up to the news that your entire national football team is gone. Not retired, not injured, gone. One moment they were flying to a World Cup qualifier. The next, they were at the bottom of the ocean. For Zambia, this wasn't a nightmare. It was reality. And what happened afterward became one of the most unbelievable stories in football history. This is the story of the team that died and somehow came back. April 1993. Football in Zambia is thriving. The national team is packed with talent. Many believe this generation could become the greatest team the country has ever produced. Their dream is simple: qualify for the 1994 FIFA World Cup. A dream no Zambian team had ever achieved. The squad boards a military aircraft for a crucial World Cup qualifying trip. Players laugh with teammates. Coaches discuss tactics. Everyone is focused on the future. Nobody knows these will be their final hours. After a refueling stop in Gabon, disaster strikes. One of the aircraft's engines catches fire. Moments later, a fatal mistake is made. The wrong engine is shut down. The plane begins losing power. Passengers have almost no time to react. Then, the aircraft crashes into the Atlantic Ocean. There are no survivors. 30 people lose their lives. 18 of them are members of Zambia's national football team. In a single night, an entire generation of football talent disappears. The country is devastated. Families wait for answers. Fans refuse to believe what they are hearing. How can an entire national team simply vanish? Across Zambia, football stadiums become places of mourning. People gather to pray, to grieve, to remember. For many nations, this would have been the end. The end of a football project. The end of World Cup dreams. The end of hope. But Zambia faced an impossible reality. The World Cup qualifiers were still coming. The country still needed a team. And somehow, they had to start over. Imagine being asked to replace almost an entire national team. Not one player, not two. Almost everyone. Coaches searched across the country for talent. Young footballers received unexpected opportunities. Players who never imagined wearing the national jersey suddenly found themselves representing millions of people. The pressure was enormous. These weren't just football matches anymore. Every game carried the memory of those who had died. Every victory honored them. Every defeat hurt even more. And then something remarkable started happening. The rebuilt team began winning. Not because they were favorites, not because they were the most talented, because they were playing for something far greater than themselves. Only months after the tragedy, Zambia qualified for the African Cup of Nations. Most people expected them to struggle. Some thought simply showing up would be an achievement. Instead, they shocked the continent. They kept winning. Again. And again. And again. Against all expectations, Zambia reached the final. Less than a year after losing nearly an entire generation of players. Think about that for a moment. Most countries would need years to recover from such a disaster. Zambia almost became champions immediately. Although they lost the final, the world had witnessed something extraordinary. A team rebuilt from tragedy had come within touching distance of glory. Years passed. The pain never truly disappeared. The players who lost their lives were never forgotten. Young footballers grew up hearing their story. And slowly, a promise began to take shape. One day, Zambia would finish what that team had started. One day, they would bring home a major trophy. Not for themselves, for the men who never came home. Then came 2012, 19 years after the crash. The African Cup of Nations final. And in one of football's most unbelievable twists of fate, the tournament was being held in Gabon, the same country where the plane had gone down, the same place connected forever to Zambia's greatest tragedy. Standing on that pitch were players who had grown up hearing stories about the crash, players carrying the hopes of an entire nation. The final goes to penalties. Everything comes down to a few kicks, one moment, one opportunity, one chance to complete a journey nearly 2 decades in the making. And Zambia wins, against all odds, against every prediction, against a tragedy that could have destroyed football in the country forever. Zambia becomes champion of Africa. Players collapse in tears. Fans celebrate across the nation. Because this was never just about football. And it was never just about a trophy. It was about remembrance, resilience, and a promise finally fulfilled. Most football stories are about winning. This one isn't. This story is about loss, grief, hope, and the refusal to give up. The players of 1993 never got the chance to achieve their dream. But 19 years later, another generation completed the journey for them. And that is why the story of Zambia remains one of the greatest stories not only in football, but in all of sport. Because sometimes the strongest teams are not the ones that never fall. They are the ones that find a way to rise again.